Imagine a shadow in the cotton fields, whispering secrets that could topple kings. In 1839 Mississippi, one woman, Marie Lavo, held the threads of fate, weaving guilt into retribution. But was it cunning, or God's unseen hand? Her story, buried by the powerful, will chill your soul and question your faith. Stay, if you dare uncover the truth. In the sweltering haze of 1839 Mississippi, where the Mississippi River slithered like a serpent through the fertile Natchez district, the air hung heavy with the scent of damp earth and blooming magnolias masking the rot beneath. Cotton fields stretched endlessly under a merciless sun, their white bowls like ghosts rising from the blood-soaked soil, each one a silent testament to stolen lives and shattered souls. This was a land where empires were built on the backs of the enslaved, where the Bible was twisted into chains, and divine justice seemed a distant myth. Yet, into this forsaken realm stepped Marie Lavo, a woman whose very presence evoked the ancient prophets, those who spoke truth to power, unraveling kingdoms with words sharper than any sword. The Bowmont plantation sprawled across 3,000 acres of this cursed paradise, its grand white-columned manor rising like a false idol on a hill, bathed in the golden light of dawn that hid the shadows creeping at its edges. To the outsiders, the bankers in New Orleans, the politicians in Washington, it symbolized southern grace, manicured lawns rolling down to the riverbank, where steamboats puffed black smoke like offerings to Mammon. But up close, the facade cracked. The paint peeled in hidden corners, termites gnawed at the foundations, and the air inside carried the faint, acrid tang of fierce sweat from those who toiled unseen. Charles Bowmont, the patriarch, lounged on the veranda each morning, his silver hair gleaming like a crown, sipping chicory coffee from porcelain cups imported from France. His eyes, sharp as a hawk's, surveyed his domain not with pride, but with the cold calculus of a man who measured worth in flesh and fiber. His wife, Eleonora, glided through the halls in rustling silk gowns, her gloved hands directing servants with a smile that never reached her steel-gray eyes. She quoted psalms at Sunday services, preaching submission as divine will, while her ledger books tallied the profits from human suffering, each entry a sin etched in ink. Beneath them reigned the overseers, enforcers of this unholy order. Cyrus Holt, a gaunt figure in his 40s, patrolled the fields on horseback, his leather whip coiled like a viper at his side. His face, weathered by sun and suspicion, bore scars from brawls in Natchez taverns, and his voice rasped like gravel under boots. Holt wasn't a mindless brute, no, he was worse, a calculating steward of torment, doling out lashes with precision, ensuring the property remained productive. A broken back yields no cotton, he'd mutter to his assistants, Briggs and Harlan, two younger men vying for his favor like dogs scrabbling for scraps. Briggs, fresh from Alabama's dusty roads, was eager and erratic, his boyish face hiding a hunger for power that twisted his soul. Harlan, quieter, watched with hooded eyes, nursing grudges like slow-burning coals. Deeper still lay the enslaved, a pyramid of despair, from house servants in starched uniforms to field hands bent double in the mud. The house slaves moved like ghosts through the manor, polishing silver that reflected their hollow eyes, overhearing whispers of deals and debts. Field workers rose before dawn to the toll of an iron bell, their calloused hands bleeding into the soil, songs of sorrow rising like prayers to a deaf heaven. Among them, healers and midwives held fragile threads of hope, blending African roots with whispered biblical verses, reminders that even in bondage, the spirit could rebel. It was into this cauldron of sin and survival that Marie Lavo arrived, on a rain-slick Tuesday in March 1839. The Forks of the Road auction block in Natchez was a marketplace of misery, where men, women, and children stood on wooden platforms under a leaden sky, prodded like cattle. The auctioneer's gavel cracked like thunder, echoing the crack of whips to come. Marie stood there, her ebony skin glistening with sweat, eyes cast downward in feigned submission. But beneath that veil burned a fire, an intellect forged in the fires of adversity, tempered by secrets passed down from ancestors who knew the old ways. The bill of sale, scrawled in hasty script, pegged her at $850, female, approximate 23 years, healthy, literate, skilled in domestic arts and herbalism. No defects. Literacy, a forbidden fruit in Mississippi, where laws decreed whips for the reader and fines for the teacher. Yet Beaumont's agent, Dalton, saw only profit, a slave who could tally herbs and read labels, boosting the plantation's efficiency. What the document omitted was the shadow trailing her from Louisiana. Her previous master, Rousseau, a portly planter with a penchant for rum and rage, had sold her in haste, his hands trembling as he signed the papers. Not for rebellion or theft, no, something subtler, more insidious. Around Marie, fortune shifted like sands in a storm. Slaves slated for punishment found alibis materializing from thin air. Secrets whispered in locked rooms echoed in the quarters. Rousseau couldn't pin it on her, no evidence, just a creeping dread that she was a vessel for something otherworldly, perhaps the wrath of the Almighty, meting out justice for his sins. She's cursed, he'd confided to his agent, or blessed by devils. Get her gone. So she was bundled off, her true power veiled, sold at a loss to exorcise his paranoia. The wagon that carried her to Bowmont rattled over rutted roads, mud splattering the wheels like accusations. Marie clutched her bundle, a wooden box of needles, dried herbs exhaling scents of earth and healing, lavender for calm, willow bark for pain, and a worn leather journal, its pages filled with cryptic marks that danced between script and symbol. Wrapped in oilcloth, it was her ark of knowledge, a forbidden testament to her grandmother's teachings. Child, words are weapons, curbs, shields. But wisdom, that's the sword of the Lord. As the manor loomed, lightning forked the sky, illuminating the cross atop the family chapel, a mocking symbol of redemption in a den of thieves. Assigned to Cabin Row, a cluster of weathered shacks behind the main house, Marie stepped into her new prison. The air inside was thick with wood smoke and sweat, the wooden floor creaking underfoot like weary bones. Shutters rattled in the wind, letting in slivers of moonlight that painted silver stripes on the pallets. Her roommates eyed her warily, Dinah, 40s, laundry mistress with gnarled hands from endless scrubbing, her face etched with lines of quiet endurance. Rachel, younger, kitchen hand with a toddler's laughter echoing from the nursery cabin, her eyes holding the soft glow of motherhood amid despair. Lily, Marie's age, seamstress whose needles flew like accusations, mending gowns for mistresses who never saw her humanity. That first night, silence hung heavy as Marie unpacked with deliberate grace. The journal's soft cover brushed her fingers like a lover's touch, a reminder of freedom stolen. You can read, Dinah whispered, her voice a thread in the dark, laced with caution. Literacy was a noose here, one slip, and the whip sang. Marie met her gaze, eyes like polished obsidian reflecting hidden depths. I remember, she replied softly, her voice a melody of evasion, rich with Louisiana cadence. Grandmama's remedies, roots that heal the body and soothe the soul. Marks to hold the memories, like etchings on a heart. It was truth wrapped in shadow, biblical in its cunning, echoing David's psalms, hidden from Saul's spies. Dinah nodded, a spark of respect igniting. Smart. Holt smells cleverness like blood in water. Keep your light dim, girl. Dawn broke with the crow of a rooster, piercing the mist like a prophet's call. Patience, the head cook, a towering woman in her 50s, scars crisscrossing her arms like maps of suffering, summoned Marie to the kitchen house. Wood smoke curled from the chimney, mingling with the aroma of baking cornbread and simmering stews. Patience's eyes, wise and weary, scanned Marie like a ledger. Herbs, she barked, straight as an arrow. Yes, ma'am, Marie answered, her tone humble yet steady. Grandmama taught me, feverfew for the fire in the head, comfrey to knit bones, chamomile to quiet the storm in the gut. Plants are God's pharmacy, if you listen. Patience's lips twitched a rare approval. Garden's a mess since Martha passed. Weeds choke it like sins on a soul. Fix it. Grow what we need. Record it all, supplies, uses. Help in kitchen when called. Mornings garden, afternoons healing, evenings pots. The herb garden lay behind the kitchen, a tangled Eden overrun by neglect. Weeds clotted beds like demons grasping for light, surviving plants wilted, their leaves yellowed in plea. But Marie saw potential, the layout whispered intelligence, sun lovers at the fore, shade seekers nestled behind, a rain barrel catching heaven's tears from the roof. Kneeling in the dirt, her fingers delved into soil rich as redemption, pulling weeds with rhythmic pulls, each one an uprooted injustice. She transplanted, sowed seeds from her bundle of valerian for restless nights haunted by chains, echinacea to bolster spirits against fever's grip. As she worked, sweat beading on her brow like holy water, she prayed silently, Lord, let these roots take hold, as your justice takes root in this forsaken ground. Weeks blurred into a tapestry of observation. Marie moved like a specter, her role granting passage through the plantation's veins. In the fields, she tended blistered hands, whispering psalms and scriptures. "The Lord heals the brokenhearted," she'd murmur, binding wounds with cloth and compassion. House slaves confided in her during quiet moments, Dinah's arthritis eased by her poultices, unlocking tales of Bowmont's tempers, Eleanora's hidden debts. Patients, over steaming pots, shared whispers of family fractures. Thomas, the eldest son, home from Vicksburg law studies, scattering papers in the library like careless seeds, deeds, letters, alliances. Exposed to eyes that could read between lines. Marie catalogued it all in her journal, hidden beneath floorboards, Holt's ledgers in the office, arteries of exploitation tracking every lash, every bail. The assistant's rivalry, Briggs' blunders and records, Harlan's simmering envy. Social webs among the enslaved, elders like elders holding counsel in moonlight, midwives birthing hope amid despair. And the Beaumont's dinners, where silver clinked like Judas's coins, conversations flowing freely before invisible servants, debts to New Orleans banks, political maneuvers, sins confessed in wine-loosened tongues. This knowledge was her manna in the wilderness, a spiritual arsenal. Marie understood, violence begat chains, but information was the key to unlock them. Like Moses spying on Pharaoh, she gathered, waited. Themes of divine retribution wove through her thoughts, guilt as a poison, sin as a seed that bloomed into downfall. The plantation was Sodom, ripe for judgment, and she, perhaps, its reluctant angel. Her first trial came in late April, a storm cloud bursting over the quarters. Samuel, a sturdy field hand in his 30s, stood accused of stealing a ham from the smokehouse. His wife Grace, eyes swollen with tears, pounded on Marie's cabin door under a moon veiled in clouds. "He didn't do it," she sobbed, collapsing inside, the scent of fear sharp as vinegar. Samuel, father of two, back scarred from prior lessons, voice steady in denial. Briggs claimed sighting him at dusk, the ham unearthed near their cabin, buried like buried treasure, or planted sin. Marie listened, firelight flickering shadows on walls like dancing spirits. "Who benefits from his fall?" she probed gently. Grace spilled, Briggs, new and zealous, errors piling in ledgers, cotton tallies off, tools miscounted. A visitor to Holt's quarters, young, furtive, departing pre-dawn with a bundle. Marie's mind spun webs, perhaps Holt's nephew James, job hunting, swiping the ham as gift. Briggs, covering. Incompetence, framing Samuel to shine. Speculation, but laced with possibility, like Eve's apple, tempting truth. Direct confrontation? Suicide. Instead, Marie sowed seeds of doubt, biblical in subtlety. To Patience, over chopping onions that stung like repentance, saw a lad leave Holt's at dawn last week, bundle in hand. Kin, maybe? Looked shifty. Patience's knife paused, curiosity kindled. Word spread through servant veins, Dinah confirming the stay, Rachel adding whispers of haste. It rippled upward, a divine whisper escalating to thunder. By supper, Eleanora quizzed Charles, Holt's nephew visited unannounced? Left like a thief in night. Charles, fork midway, frowned, seeds of mistrust taking root. Next day, casual query to Holt, family visit? Holt stammered admission, face paling like a sinner's at judgment. Unimportant, sir. But Beaumont's eyes narrowed, the crack in trust widening like the Red Sea. Samuel's fate hung in balance, the assembly for lashing looming. Yet Marie's web tightened, her actions a prayer manifest, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. The plantation quivered, unaware a prophet walked among them, her intellect aflame against the dark. Guilt's shadow lengthened, redemption's dawn flickered. And Marie? She tended her garden, hands in soil, heart in heaven, waiting for the harvest of justice. But this was merely the genesis. Deeper sins lurked in Beaumont's halls, debts like millstones, alliances fragile as glass. Marie's journal grew thicker, symbols intertwining herbs with verses, Psalm 37, the wicked shall be cut off. She built alliances subtly, with Lily, sharing needlework secrets laced with strategy, with field elders, offering remedies that healed bodies and bolstered resolves. Whispers of her gifts spread, not voodoo, but something holier, a spiritual acuity that discerned hearts like Nathan before David. One evening, as thunder rumbled like God's discontent, Marie sat by candlelight, journaling, the mighty fall not by sword, but by their own iniquity revealed. Sensory details enveloped her, the crackle of flame, herb scents warding mosquitoes, distant slave songs carrying lament and defiance. Empathy swelled, for Samuel's children, wide-eyed in fear, for Grace's trembling faith. Dread built in her chest, not for herself, but the reckoning she orchestrated. Curiosity drove her. What lay in Thomas's scattered papers? Political ambitions, perhaps ties to abolition whispers up north? Reflection deepened. Was she instrument of divine wrath, or merely human, risking all for fleeting freedom? Historically, 1839 Natchez pulsed with tension, cotton booms fueling extravagance, yet whispers of Nat Turner's rebellion echoed, fueling overseer paranoia. Laws tightened like nooses, no reading, no gatherings, eternal vigilance. Marie's literacy, a spark in tinder, rooted in grandmother's illicit lessons under Louisiana stars, blending Yoruba lore with Christian fire, curbs as sacraments. Spiritually, her story chilled undertones of retribution, where sin's legacy haunted generations. Bowmont's wealth? Built on stolen lives, cursed like Cain's mark. Marie embodied Proverbs' wisdom: the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Her methods, subtle manipulations, mirrored biblical parables, turning tables without a temple in sight. As weeks turned, another ripple, Briggs' errors surfaced in audits, Holt's fury like brimstone. Samuel's trial delayed, doubts festering. Marie visited him in the brick jail, slipping herbs through bars. Hold fast, brother. The Lord turns the counsel of the wicked to foolishness. His eyes, grateful, reflected her resolve, yet peril loomed. Holt's gaze lingered on her during rounds, suspicion coiling. That new herb woman, he'd growl to Briggs, watches too keen. Marie felt it, the spiritual weight, like Jacob wrestling the angel. Would her cunning redeem or damn? In the Manor's library, moonlight slanted through windows, illuminating Thomas's desk, letters from Vicksburg allies, plotting Senate runs on pro-slavery platforms. A house slave, dusting, glimpsed words, debts to river gamblers, hidden from Charles. Marie, summoned for a headache remedy, absorbed it all, her presence invisible yet omnipotent. The emotional crescendo built: empathy for the oppressed, dread of discovery, curiosity about unfolding justice, reflection on morality's gray. Cinematic visions, close-ups on sweating brows, slow pans over fields at dusk, thunderclaps punctuating revelations. And so, Marie Lavo's legend began not as voodoo myth, but as avenging spirit, her story a chilling reminder: in the empire of sin, divine justice whispers before it roars. In the oppressive embrace of 1839's waning summer, where the Mississippi sun scorched the earth like the fires of Judgment Day, the Bowmont plantation simmered with unspoken tensions. The air was thick with the metallic tang of sweat-soaked soil and the sweet decay of overripe cotton bolls, bursting open like wounds under the relentless heat. Cicadas droned a ceaseless lament, their chorus a backdrop to the rhythmic chop of hoes in the fields, each strike echoing the thud of hearts bound in chains. This was a realm where biblical parables twisted into nightmares, masters quoting Exodus to justify bondage, while the enslaved whispered of Pharaoh's fall, clinging to fragments of faith amid the abyss. Marie Lavo, now woven into the fabric of this forsaken kingdom, moved with the grace of a prophetess in exile, her dark eyes reflecting the storm clouds gathering on the horizon. The manor house stood sentinel on its rise, its white pillars gleaming falsely in the golden hour, casting long shadows that stretched like accusing fingers toward the slave quarters. Inside, crystal chandeliers tinkled softly in the breeze from open windows, their light fracturing into rainbows on polished mahogany floors, illusions of elegance built on pillars of sin. Charles Bowmont paced his study, the creak of floorboards under his boots syncing with the tick of a grandfather clock, its pendulum swinging like the scales of justice unbalanced. His face, lined with the weight of debts and decisions, furrowed as he pored over ledgers stained with ink and regret. Eleonora, his wife, sat nearby, her needle flashing through embroidery, a delicate rose pattern that belied her iron will, her lips murmuring prayers from Proverbs: wealth gotten by vanity shall be diminished. Yet their wealth was vanity incarnate, rooted in the exploitation that cried out to heaven for vengeance. Down in the overseer's domain, Cyrus Holt's cabin squatted like a watchful beast, its rough-hewn logs darkened by years of rain and resentment. Holt leaned against the porch rail, his pipe smoke curling upward like incense to false gods, eyes scanning the fields with predatory gleam. His assistants, Briggs and Harlan, hovered nearby, their rivalry a simmering pot ready to boil over. Briggs, still smarting from the Samuel debacle, fidgeted with his hat, his youthful face etched with anxiety, marks of a soul teetering on the edge of damnation through deceit. The enslaved quarters buzzed with subdued life, lanterns flickering in cabin windows like hopeful stars, the scent of cornbread and greens wafting from communal fires, voices low and spirituals that masked deeper plots. Here, Marie's herb garden flourished, a verdant sanctuary amid desolation, lavender spikes standing tall like sentinels of peace, comfrey leaves broad as shields against affliction. Each plant whispered of Genesis, and God said, "Let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed." Marie's orchestration of Samuel's salvation had rippled through the plantation like a stone in still water, waves of doubt lapping at the foundations of power. But she wasted no breath on triumph. Instead, she delved deeper, her journal a sacred scroll chronicling the sins of the mighty. The discrepancies in Briggs' records, those subtle thefts of truth, became her next thread to pull. During a routine visit to the bookkeeper, old Porter, whose joints creaked like ancient oaks in wind, Marie applied a poultice of willow bark and arnica, its warmth seeping into his gnarled hands like mercy. The room smelled of liniment and aged paper, stacks of ledgers towering like Babel's folly. "Mr. Porter," she murmured innocently, her voice a soothing balm, "I ain't one for figures, but I overheard field talk of 42 bushels picked, yet the book said 40. Must be my ears foolin' me, like the devil's whispers." Porters. Desperate to cloak his failures? Bowmont, face ashen in the morning light, released Samuel with a grudging decree, evidence insufficient, let justice prevail. Samuel stumbled from the jail, embracing grace under a weeping willow, tears mingling with dew, a moment of redemption, fragile as dawn's first ray. Briggs endured reprimand in Holt's office, the whip's shadow looming not on flesh but reputation. Holt, instructed to report visitors, seethed inwardly, his pipe clenched like a vow of vengeance. Whispers spread through the quarters like wildfire in dry grass, not overt, but encoded glances over shared meals, in hymns sung with extra fervor, "Swing low, sweet chariot." Marie became the unspoken oracle, her cabinet confessional where ailments of body and spirit found solace. Yet she remained veiled, tending herbs with hands that knew both healing and harvest, her spirit attuned to divine rhythms, guilt as thorn, justice as bloom. June's heat brought Clara's plea, a seamstress in her late 20s whose needles danced like accusations through fabric. Her daughter, 8, with braids like twisted vines, assisted in the kitchen, her laughter a rare light in shadowed halls. Beaumont's debts, fruits of cotton gambles gone sour, pressed like millstones. Garrett, a Louisiana brute whose name evoked Gehenna, whips cracking like thunder, graves filling prematurely, offered debt relief for slaves, including Clara. Separation loomed, mother to torment, child to loneliness. Clara collapsed at Marie's door under starlit skies, sobs ragged as torn cloth. "They'll tear us asunder, like the veil in the temple. Help us, sister, as you did Samuel." Marie, firelight carving her features into solemn resolve, probed, "The debt's measure? Garrett's shadows? The sales hour?" Information flowed, $3,000 owed, end-of-month transfer, Garrett's cruelties etched in regional lore. Crucially, Thomas Beaumont's law pursuits pitted him against Garrett in a land dispute for Whitfield, conflict brewing like storm clouds. Marie's plan unfurled like a scroll, amplify the discord, make sale untenable. Through house networks, Clara to Dinah to the butler, word reached Thomas during a home visit, silver tray clinking as he sipped tea. His face paled in the library's book-lined glue. "Father, dealing with my courtroom foe? This stains our honor." Charles dismissed, debt's noose tightening. Marie sought alternatives, her movements a dance of discretion, overhearing parlor talks, glimpsing Thomas's papers, debts, alliances, frailties exposed. Prescott, a rival planter 20 miles distant, flush with land sale gold, harbored Garrett enmity. Marie sewed, to Peter, a Natchez merchant's slave, Beaumont seeks fresh coin for burdens. Chains of chatter carried it, merchants' taverns, Prescott's ears. Prescott's offer arrived on horseback, sealed wax gleaming like providence. Loan terms favorable, harvest share, broker switch, Beaumont grasped, sale dissolved. Clara clutched her daughter in the quarter's twilight, unaware of Marie's hand, but sensing heaven's touch. Empathy surged in Marie, dread of separation's void, curiosity at web's weave, reflection on sin's cost, redemption's price paid in whispers. By fall 1840, Marie's influence bloomed subtly, a spiritual force amid physical chains. Petitions multiplied, Joseph's laziness charge, unraveled by exposing Briggs' thefts, a new bookkeeper's probe leading to dismissal, echoes of Samuel's grace. Ruth's harassment by a visitor, debts revealed through gossip chains, wife confronting in parlor fury, departure in disgrace. Daniel and Esther's union, blocked by Holt's spite, undone by skimming evidence planted via audits, new overseer blessing their vows under harvest moon. Each act mirrored biblical cunning, David evading Saul, Esther before Ahasuerus. Marie gathered, identified levers, planted seeds, waited, invisible as wind. The enslaved felt empowerment's spark, not rebellion's fire, but intelligence's light. Legends whispered, she sees the unseen, turns masters' sins against them. Yet shadows deepened. Holt, no fool, patrolled with heightened vigilance, his boots crunching gravel like judgment's approach. Patterns nagged, foiled punishments, convenient resolutions, Marie's peripheral presence. Questions to peers, surveillance in fields, suspicion festered like untreated wounds. Marie countered, feigned simplicity, superstitious tales of roots and omens, naive queries, disarming threats. It bought time, but tension coiled. September 1840 ignited confrontation. Thomas's marriage to Catherine Hartwell, Vicksburg elite, political gold, veiled his flaws. Visits masked escapes, eyes lingering on Ruth, 16, kitchen helper with downcast gaze. Touches lingered, words laced with intent, predator's guise. Hannah, Ruth's mother, linen mistress, pleaded at Marie's cabin, he'll claim her like spoil, ruin her soul. Protect her, as the Lord shielded the innocent. Marie weighed, risks towering, but inaction betrayal. Details poured, Thomas's ambitions, debts from gambles, reputation fragile as glass. Hartwell matriarch's morals, a scandal's blade. Marie's strategy, expose vulnerabilities, make pursuit costly. In the crisp chill of November 1840, where frost etched crystalline patterns on the Bowmont plantation's windows like frozen tears of the damned, the air carried the sharp bite of wood smoke from dying hearths and the distant lowing of cattle huddled against the wind. The Mississippi River, swollen from autumn rains, murmured secrets to the banks, its waters dark as the abyss, reflecting the moon's pale judgment. This was a season of reckoning, where the veil between earthly sin and divine retribution thinned, and the enslaved clung to whispered psalms, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Marie Lavo, now a spectral force amid the quarters, navigated this twilight realm with the poise of Esther before the king, her every step a prayer, her mind a fortress against the encroaching night. The manor house loomed like Babel's tower, its lights flickering through lace curtains, casting elongated shadows that danced like demons on the lawn. Inside, the library smelled of aged leather and beeswax polish, bookshelves towering with tomes of law and philosophy, mockeries of enlightenment in a land where knowledge was chained. Charles Bowmont sat enthroned behind his oak desk, the grain swirling like turbulent souls, his quill scratching parchment with the finality of judgment. Eleonora moved in the adjacent parlor, her footsteps soft on Persian rugs, arranging silver candelabras that gleamed like false halos. Thomas, the prodigal son, paced the halls during visits, his boots echoing ambition's hollow ring, his marriage to Catherine Hartwell a gilded cage of alliances and expectations. Beyond, in the overseer's quarters, Cyrus Holt brooded by a sputtering fire, its embers glowing like accusatory eyes, his pipe clenched in calloused hands. Suspicion had festered in him like an untreated wound, pus of paranoia seeping into every thought. The fields lay barren post-harvest, skeletal cotton stalks jutting from earth like bones unearthed, a graveyard of toil under a sky heavy with unspoken curses. Slave cabins huddled in rows, thatched roofs sagging under dew, lanterns inside pulsing like heartbeats of resilience. Marie's herb garden, now dormant, held promise of rebirth, roots burrowing deep, waiting for spring's resurrection, symbolic of souls enduring winter's trial. Marie's web had saved Ruth, but victory tasted of ash. Thomas's predatory gaze had shifted, but Holt's scrutiny intensified, his patrols crunching gravel like approaching thunder. Accusation came swift as a serpent's strike, witchcraft, that ancient scapegoat for the unexplained, a charge laced with fear of the otherworldly. Holt, part believer in shadows, part calculator of control, leveled it in Beaumont's study, voice rasping like dry leaves. She's unnatural, sir. Influences fates without touch, must be dark arts. Bowmont, bound by southern paranoia, echoes of Salem's hysteria blended with rebellion's specter, summoned Marie. She stood in the library's golden lamplight, air thick with tension, the grandfather clock ticking like a countdown to Gehenna. Books mocked her, volumes on Roman law, Enlightenment essays, rights denied to her kind. Beaumont's eyes, piercing as pilots, weighed her. Grave claims, Marie. Supernatural meddling, knowledge beyond your station. Her response, home like a psalmist's verse, Sir, I heal with God's green earth, herbs for fevers fire, poultices for wounds weep. Grandmother's lore, nothing unholy. Holt snarled, face twisted in fury's mask, she twists outcomes, knows secrets. Marie countered softly, people confide in pain's hour, I listen, offer simple counsel, like turning to you for justice. The journal's revelation hit like thunder, unearthed from her cabin's hidden nook, pages soft as whispered sins. Bowmont perused, brow furrowed, her coat of metaphors, willow bends to wind, survives storm, veiling observations of power's frailties. To him, perhaps mere botany, to the discerning, a map of subversion. No hexes here, he decreed, voice echoing authority. Cleverness ain't conjuring. Holt protested, slaves ain't meant for smarts. Bowmont rebuked, intelligence knows no chains. Reprieve granted, but warning etched, watched closely, cross lines, and mercy ends. Marie departed, journal forfeited, heart pounding like David's before Goliath, survival won, but vigilance eternal. Post-confrontation, Marie evolved like a vine adapting to shade. Interventions selective, aiding without direct threat to Beaumont's realm. A mother's plea for a child's ailment masked counsel on overseer moods, a field's grievance resolved through planted doubts, echoing proverbs, a soft answer turneth away wrath. She mentored shadows, Dinah, laundry's eyes and ears, learning to glean parlor whispers, Hannah, linen's guardian, discerning family fractures, Peter from chambers, bridge to outer worlds, carrying remedies laced with intel. Networks sprawled like roots under soil, across plantations, tendrils linking souls in subtle resistance. Information flowed, debts whispered, alliances frayed, sins exposed without fingerprint. Spiritually, Marie embodied redemption's arc, guilt's harvest reaped through cunning, divine justice meted sans sword. Themes of biblical symbolism deepened, her Garden Eden reclaimed, journal of forbidden fruit of knowledge. Empathy for Ruth's averted ruin swelled dread of discovery, curiosity at power's fragility prompted reflection on morality's edge. Was she avenger or vessel? Sin's legacy haunted Beaumont's empire, built on stolen breath, cursed like Jericho's walls. By 1841, financial storms battered Bowmont, cotton prices plummeting like fallen angels, debts mounting as creditors circled like vultures. Marie's network hummed, overheard ledgers, glimpsed letters, $5000 owed to New Orleans banks, timelines ticking. Sales loomed, families torn asunder, like Abraham's near sacrifice. Marie gathered, creditor names, Garrett, Prescott, assets tallied, land, livestock, market trends via Natchez whispers. Her plan germinated, not mere survival, but exodus. Freedom's seed, manumission laws, rare as manna, more lenient in Louisiana. Free communities in New Orleans, blacks owning shops, aiding kin. Marie probed, legal paths via Thomas's scattered tomes, costs, purchase prices, helpers through Peter's chains. Ambitious vision, not solitary flight, but collective liberation, purchasing freedoms, leveraging Beaumont's woes. Cinematic details enveloped, moonlight vigils in cabins, voices low as incense, river mists veiling secret meets, thunder punctuating revelations. Emotionally charged, dread of sales sundering, curiosity at freedom's dawn, reflection on sin's retribution, divine chilling legacy, where empires crumble under wisdom's weight. Historically rooted, 1840s Natchez pulsed with economic volatility, cotton booms to busts, slave markets thriving amid abolition whispers north. Laws ironclad yet porous for the cunning, free people of color navigating gray zones. Marie's methods refined, plant doubts in creditors' ears via networks, Beaumont's unreliability, alternative deals. One intervention, averting a sale by exposing a creditor's own fraud, chains redirecting. Another, counseling a family on petitioning Bowmont, framing as mercy's boon. Yet peril persisted, Holt's gaze, unyielding as Cain's mark. A close call, overheard whisper nearly traced, heightened stakes. Marie prayed under stars, Lord, make me wise as serpents, harmless as doves. As debts crested, Marie positioned, offer Bowmont escape via her intel, broker alliances, stabilize finances in exchange for freedoms. Subtle barter, information for souls. The quarters stirred with hope's ember, songs shifting from lament to prophecy. Marie, prophetess unchained, wove destiny's threads, her story a chilling testament, in sin's shadow, redemption whispers eternal. In the waning light of 1841's turbulent spring, where the Mississippi River churned with muddy fury, carrying the sins of the land downstream like offerings to a wrathful sea, the Bowmont plantation teetered on the brink of collapse. The air hummed with the desperate buzz of insects swarming over wilting fields, the scent of impending rain mingling with the acrid smoke of burning brush piles, omens of judgment hanging heavy. Cotton prices had plummeted like Icarus from the sun, international markets fickle as false prophets, leaving planters like Charles Bowmont drowning in debts that clawed at his soul. The manor house, once a beacon of false grandeur, now echoed with hushed arguments behind closed doors, ledgers slammed shut like coffins, Eleanora's rosary beads clicking like accusations, Thomas's letters from Vicksburg bearing tidings of stalled ambitions. In the quarters, fear coiled like serpents, whispers of sales, families rent asunder, children torn from mothers' breasts under auctioneer's gavel. Marie Lavo, her hands deep in the rich loam of her herb garden, fingers tracing roots of resilience like valerian and echinacea, watched it all with the patience of Job. The garden bloomed defiantly, mint leaves glistening with dew like tears of hope, rosemary spikes piercing the sky as arrows of remembrance. Each plant a parable from Proverbs, the wise store up knowledge. Her network pulsed beneath the surface, threads woven through house slaves' eavesdropped confessions, library dustings revealing scattered correspondence, visitors' careless boasts over brandy, couriers like Benjamin ferrying secrets across rutted roads. Sensory echoes enveloped her, the creak of wagon wheels at dusk, distant spirituals rising like incense, the metallic tang of fear in shared glances. Leverage emerged like manna, Sutton, Natchez banker, and Beaumont's chief creditor, ensnared in fraudulent land schemes, titles forged like Satan's promises, investors bled dry. Rumors simmered in elite circles, unseen but potent as poison ivy. Sutton's desperation, reputation is fragile idol, vulnerable to exposure's lash. Marie, voiceless in white men's world, orchestrated revelation through shadows. The chain unfurled masterfully, to Peter at Chambers, casual murmur over feverfew tea, heard shadows over Natchez land deals, troubles brewing. Peter to merchant slave in town, query laced with concern. Back to Sutton's household servant, confirmation gleaned from glimpsed papers, yes, master's hands tremble over those deeds. Credibility swelled, rippling to a free black intermediary in Natchez, who whispered to Prescott's ear rival banker, ruthless as Goliath, hungry for dominance. Prescott pounced, investigations unearthing truth like buried bones. Offers dispatched on scented stationery, favorable loans to Sutton's debtors, banking shifted, harvests shared. Bowmont, veranda pacing under storm clouds, grasped salvation, no sales, empire intact. Debts cleared, crisis averted. To all, mere market fortune, to Marie, divine orchestration, guilt's harvest reaped, redemption sown without trace. From 1841 to 1844, Marie's symphony swelled, interventions a litany of mercies. Dozens shielded, punishments dissolved like mist, separations thwarted, lives preserved. Her legend spread regionally, not shouted, but breathed in coded hymns across fields. Marie seized the unseen heart. Yet ambition deepened, freedom's flame kindled. Mechanisms mapped like Exodus paths, manumission's grace, self-purchase toil, kin sponsorships, legal fissures. Candidates identified, skilled artisans, savers, those with clouded titles. Situations sculpted subtly. Daniel, carpenter extraordinaire, hands crafting beauty from wood like creator from dust. Marie seeded praise, house whispers to Natchez elites, requests flowing. Bowmont hired him out, premiums flowing, percentage kept. Years accrued savings, 1843 offer tendered. Bowmont, stabilized, saw profit in freedom. Daniel manumitted at 35, tools his own, spirit unchained. Esther, gardener of plots yielding bounty, $200 hoarded from eggs and greens like widows' mites. Marie bridged, Natchez market meet with Hella, free black sage. Guidance poured, documents, proposals. Offer crafted, cash plus 5 years discounted produce, totaling $400. Bowmont, gracious in prosperity, assented 1844. Esther free, roots transplanted yet ties enduring. Each triumph, months of weaving, empathy's ache for parted kin, dread of failure's whip, curiosity at law's loopholes, reflection on justice's slow grind. Spiritually chilling, Marie is Moses' successor, parting seas of bureaucracy sans staff strike. By 1844, Marie's coffer, $300 from remedies sold discreetly, white families seeking her poultices, unaware of prophetess. Yet dilemma gnawed, personal exodus or communal guardianship? Network's heartbeat in her departure, abandonment? Fate intervened, spring 1845's cruel bloom. Holt, suspicion eternal as original sin, struck. Benjamin caught by patrol wagons searched under lantern glare, coded letter unearthed, plant metaphors veiling finances, sales. Interrogation cracked him, Marie's request. Holt triumphant, evidence brandished before Bowmont, rebellion's web. Marie jailed, brick cell damp as tombs, chains clank echoing despair. Quarters mourned, protector caged, hope dimmed. But preparation prevailed, men's trained, Dinah's keen ears, Hannah's patterns, network resilient final gambit from darkness, message via Dinah to Thomas in Vicksburg. Property dispute stalled, hidden documents located by Webb. Revelation offered, location, court access, for intervention. Sale to lenient Louisiana, threat removed. Blackmail veiled as bargain, victory for advocacy. Thomas, pragmatic ambition's son, Wade, reputation boosted, danger exiled. Journeyed home, veranda counsel, father, waste not clever property, sell to New Orleans contact, Helen, boarding house needs skills. Profit $1,000, trouble banished. Bowmont, weary of webs, consented. June 1845, chains to New Orleans, riverboat churning waters like baptismal font. Parting bittersweet, network enduring, methods seeded. City's cacophony enveloped, French quarters vibrant chaos, Creole melodies floating on jasmine-scented air, diverse throngs, free gens de couleur thriving amid shadows. Helen's boarding house, courtyard garden echoing Marie's past, borders ailments her canvas. Arrangement explicit, wages toward $1,000 plus interest, freedom's price achievable. Marie flourished, management precise, healings compassionate, new networks blooming. Connections forged, lawyers versed in manumission, ex-slaves aiding kin, activists navigating gray laws. Journal reborn detailed tome, observations art, leverages hunt, chains of whisper, psychology's dissection, trusts forge, patience's virtue. Cases analyzed, principles eternal. Manual of shadows, resistance sans scar. 1847, savings met mark, freedom purchased at 31, spirit soaring like eagles renewal. Yet work expanded, facilitator supreme, linking candidates to sponsors, lawyers, paths. Journal fragments copied, disseminated underground scripture spreading southward. Life in New Orleans, healer publicly, strategist veiled. Helped 200 plus to freedom by 1881, death at 65, networks persisting, methods evolving. Legacy obscured deliberately, voodoo queen myth eclipsing truth, free Marie Glapian's lore overshadowing enslaved strategists. Not coincidence, her tale threatened narratives, passive victims or violent rebels. Marie neither, strategic avenger, intelligence dismantling iniquity. Journal fragments scattered archives, mislabeled, dismissed. Yet techniques lived, information is manna, patience is armor. Cinematic visions, river sunsets blood red, journal pages flickering candlelight, freedom papers signed with trembling hands. Emotional torrent, empathy for chained, dread of exposure, curiosity at cunning's bloom, reflection on power's fragility, divine retribution subtle as breath. Historically grounded, 1840s economic volatility, Louisiana's freer hues for gens de couleur, manumission's rare doors. Spiritually haunting, Marie vessel of Proverbs wisdom, she is more precious than rubies, guilt's empire crumbling under knowledge's quiet siege. America's erasure, truth too potent, revealing oppressed as architects of liberty. Marie Lavo proved, most revolutionary act often invisible, unlocking doors from within, leaving masters wondering at empty chains. Her story erased not for falsehood, but truth's danger, if all grasped intelligence's power against oppression, no tyranny safe. The herb tender who reshaped history, one whisper, one seed, one soul at a time.